cancel culture, whether you like it or not, is a reality. Say something 5 or 10 years ago deemed out of line now, and you can be canceled just like that. Further to that, what also seems to be a common occurrence is the canceling of historical figures. Whether the canceling involves the toppling of statues or the renaming of buildings and streets, present day society serves as the judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to history. But are these movements to cancel historical figures actually based on historical fact? Are we merely responding to the modern zeitgeist and impulsively canceling an important part of our history? Take Henry Dundas, for example. His reputation has been in tatters since questions arose concerning his role in the abolitionist movement, especially during his time as an elected politician. Is this justified? Well, joining me now to discuss is Patrice Dutil, a professor of politics and public administration at Toronto Metropolitan University, formerly Ryerson, and a senior fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute. Thank you so much for joining me, Mr. Dutil. I appreciate your time today, especially because, you write a lot about this topic, and it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon.
No, it's not. Thank you for having me this morning. I'm really happy to be with you.
So how rampant is the canceling of historical figures?
Oh, it's hard to tell. Right now, certainly, we're living in a period of intense scrutiny. We've had literally the demolition of Sir John A. Macdonald since 2016, 2015, 2016. We've had the assault on Lord Melville, Henry Dundas, here in Toronto. And of course, we've had the renaming of my own university, Ryerson University. It's now called Toronto Metropolitan University. All three incidents have had very similar patterns where a small minority decides that some historical harm has been unveiled and that it is incumbent on us today to condemn those historical figures, even though I will argue we don't understand them and we don't understand the full record. And that if we did understand the full record, we certainly would not be destroying any remembrance of their accomplishments.
And, of course, history can be nuanced.
Yes,
It's very challenging to
yes,
judge something that happened maybe 200 years ago by
yes,
present day standards. I've always really grappled with this. There are
yes.
objective wrongs and objective rights, uh, meaning good things and bad things. But how do we frame these kinds of notions with a historical context? How do we apply that lens of really civility?
Well, thank you for asking the question. This is important. There should be, especially when it comes to things like, let's take Dundas, for example. Dundas is not something that is recent. The street Dundas was named 225 years ago. This is part and parcel of the Toronto identity. You would want to remove something that has been so deeply ingrained in the fabric of Toronto. You'd think that you'd have a group of people come together, commissioned by the city of Toronto, to say, hey, okay, some people are saying that it's time to rethink Dundas Street, Dundas Square, young Dundas Square, which sits at the heart of the city. Let's think about this. So what do you do? In a normal public policy process, you might bring a group of eminent people, representative people in the city. The city of Toronto does that. I had the pleasure, the privilege of sitting on the preservation committee of the city of Toronto over a decade ago. And this was a group of people, half councillors of the city of Toronto, half community representatives, to discuss and to pronounce on the built heritage. So, when you want to demolish a historical building, you have to come to city council and put an application. And this committee, again, half representatives of the council, half members of the community, had to sit together. And I tell you, it was a lot of work. I only served for 3 years because I couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
And you go through these files, and you got to make decisions that will impact the lives of people. Well, that works. That works. Except that in the city of Toronto, a city with a $15 billion budget, larger than most provinces in the country, the process of naming and renaming cities, there's no process.
Okay,
There
so
is no process.
let's talk about that when we come back from this commercial break,
Okay.
because I want to talk about where the process has failed. We'll
Okay.
be right back.